Now, a 2016 survey on financial inclusion indicates that that particular measure in Kenya has gone up to 75.3% of the population, and that's a 50% increase in the last decade compared to 66% in 2013 and 40% in 2009. The survey is conducted by Kenya Central Bank in conjunction with its National Statistics Bureau and FSD. It also found that financial exclusion more than halved to 17.4% since 2006. Uche Okoronkwo spoke to Dr. Amrik Heyer, the head of research at FSD Kenya, to find out the reason behind this improvement.
We had a very, very big leap in formal inclusion between 2009 and 2013, and that was very much driven by people taking on mobile money. Services like Kenya's M-Pesa, which I'm sure you know about. So that really created a massive shift. By 2013, we already had a lot of people accessing formal services. There has, however, been quite a shift between 2013 and 2016 in relation to people being able to access formal banking services. That's gone up by sort of 9 or 10%. And 6% of that's been driven by these new innovations in the banking sector.
Now, if we compare Kenya's informal financial service sector versus its formal financial service sector, where have we seen the most growth in the past 10 years?
We've seen growth across the board in the usage of banks, of our SACCOs, cooperatives. There's been quite a substantial growth since 2013. Usage of mobile money grown by 10% again. Although it was obviously it's tailoring off now because so many of the population, over 70% of the population now have mobile money. And we've also seen quite a big growth in the use of informal groups, which is now 40%. That's nearly half the population still use informal groups. And that's grown quite a bit, actually, even since the 2013 survey.
When we talk about Kenya's informal financial services, what are some of the emerging new trends or interesting new trends that you noticed this time around?
What's interesting about the informal sector is it's becoming more formalized. So we found that, around 75% of our groups, or around 60 to 70% of our groups had elected officials, they kept written records, they had a lot of attributes of the formal sector. 30%, over 30%, about a third of groups actually are linked with a bank. They have bank accounts, and about 45% of groups are registered. So the blurring of the divide between formal and informal is definitely beginning to happen.
Are Kenya's financial institutions diversifying their product portfolios to include segments such as women and youth?
It's interesting that actually, in relation to the banking sector, that's where we see quite a big divide between men and women. 50% of men are able to access banking services, whilst only about 35% of women access similar services. So that's where there's a big gap. In the use of mobile money, men and women are more equal. Men, on the other hand, have less access to informal groups, which are also providing very valuable services for a number of people. So the banking sector still needs to catch up in relation to providing relevant services for women. And that's certainly a big gap we're seeing in the survey. As far as youth is concerned, again, youth and the elderly are the least included of all the different age brackets in the country. However, so we see highest levels of exclusion in both those groups. But interestingly, with the new mobile banking products like M-Shwari, the youth are the only group where the usage of M-Shwari and conventional banking products is pretty much equal.